Okay, so how many people do abstract in the room? Oh, a lot of you. Good. Well, like she said, I'm a non-objective abstract artist, which means there's nothing realistic in my work, although people are always trying to find something realistic in it, but that's never my intention. Can, can you hear me all right, though? I'll try to talk louder. So, I forgot my paints today. I came, got here, unpacking, and no paint. So I had to go out to the trade show, and fortunately, Golden gave me these high flow acrylics to work with. So I will do the best I can, but I'm not promising anything here. But I do work in liquid acrylics, but not not the high flow, but just the regular fluid acrylics. This is what I work in. And I usually start with, and I like golden fluid acrylics. And the paper that I'm working with is a half a sheet of 140-pound Fabriano paper, which papers I'm not too particular about the paper that I use, but I find these them a little less expensive than Arches, so I usually get the Fabriano, but paper doesn't matter a whole lot to me. I like to start with mark making, and I have some water soluble markers. This is ink pencil. It has made with ink, which is water soluble. These are art graph, and these are also very water soluble. Art graph, yeah. And then the permanent markers, I have, this is a Faber-Castell. This is a Posca pen, P-O-S-C-A, and it has liquid acrylic in it. And this is just a pencil, and these are some more Pitt pens, but smaller size. This Pitt pen is actually um, permanent marker. So just going to start by making some marks. It doesn't really matter what they look like. It depends on how I'm going to start my painting as to whether or not I'm going to use water soluble or permanent. If I'm going to start with color, transparent color, I'm not going to use water soluble because that is going to mix with my paint and make it muddy looking. So then I'll just go with the permanent markers. But today I'm going to start with gesso, which I use for my white because I use a lot of white. Gesso is less expensive than buying tubes of white paint. So I want it to mix with these water-soluble markers so that it will give me some nice grays. And then the permanent markers, so when I add my gesso, they're going to stay. And I'll try one of these. This is a fine point, so it's going to give me a little different line. Usually I hold my markers and my pens at the very edge, so I don't have as much control over it, and I can just get some random type lines and they don't look too perfect. So for my darks, I usually like to use Payne's Gray, but today I don't have Payne's Gray. I do have, well, this is watercolor, so I might not use that, but I'll probably have to use black because I don't have Payne's Gray. So just put that down. And usually I use wedges. This is a catalyst wedge, and this is a Meister bowl scraper. But I don't know how that's going to work with this really liquid paint. But I'm going to put some of this on. So, and the first part of the painting. I'm just trying to establish my darks and interest. But I like the Payne's gray because it has a little bit of a blue tint to it, and it's not like a hole in your paper, and it has a little more interest in it, but fortunately he didn't have any of that. So yeah, it's just kind of random, but I'm just kind of spreading this darks around the painting so that it's not all in one area. So, so after I have enough dark and enough line work on, then I'm going to start with adding my gesso. This is a slat board. So what I use that for is to just clean my stuff off. It's like an old painting that I don't like, or maybe it's not done. So I just, at the end of the day, when I clean my palette off, I just put it on there. And then eventually, when there's enough paint buildup on there, then I make a painting out of it. Or I might tear it up and use it for collage or something like that. So I'm going to use my Messermeister to start putting some of this gesso on. I like this because you can make it go on thick, or you can go like this and scrape a lot of it off and just have like a veiling effect. A veil, to make like a veil. A veiling effect is like when you just have kind of a fog, but you can see through it. It's like, this is a Messermeister bowl scraper, and you can get these off of Amazon. It's not an art tool, it's a bowl scraper. But I bought it on Amazon. Oh, yeah, white gesso. I'm doing white gesso here. And I'm mixing it into these blacks that I put down because I don't want those hard edges on those blacks, and I want them to look like they're part of my painting. And what I also do is after I put a few steps on the painting, I turn it 90 degrees so that everything is not all going in the same direction. Because I have a tendency to have all my strokes going in the same direction if I keep working in the same direction. So I turn the painting. So I'm not going to cover up all these blacks because I want some of them to show. I'm not going to cover up all my line work because I probably want to keep. It's just random. So the first stage of the painting is just like the play stage where I'm building value and building interest. So right now I'm trying to get some value going here. I think if you don't establish your value and some interest at the beginning, it's hard to get it at the end. It's for me it's harder to put it in, so I like to have something to work with at the very beginning. Okay, so that's probably good. So I don't have the choices of colors that I was going to use, but we'll just make this do. And since this is so fluidy, I'm just going to squirt it on here. I thought we opened them all. Oh, it's got a, it, it's got this little thing here. Oh, I think they're all, we opened them all, but this one's got like a skin over top of it that's not, maybe they all do. Oh, I have high flow acrylics at home, but I don't use them all that much. No, no, I don't. I usually kind of work wet into wet. Oh, sorry. This is Quin Gold, quinacridone nickel laser gold. It's one of my favorite colors, but I was going to use Indian yellow. So now, and this is a transparent color. So I'm just kind of mixing it on here randomly again. Usually at home, I use the bigger bottles of fluid acrylic. hmm Yes, these are acrylic. I always work in acrylic because I don't know, for abstract, I just find it a little bit more versatile than watercolor. And when it's dry, and it's not going to move. You can do other stuff to it, and it's going to stay the way you put it down. Right now, I'm just getting paint on the paper, messing around here. So, I guess I'll put on some. This is ultramarine blue. I was going to use anthraquinone blue, which is a really pretty, very dark blue, but when you lighten it, it's a really pretty light blue. But um, I have to go with ultramarine. So I usually use a very limited palette. I might use two, maybe three colors, and plus black and white. So this is quinacridone magenta. I think what I'm going to do with this is deli paper, the paper that they use in the deli to wrap cheese and meat in, but you can get it on Amazon or Sam's Club, but I bought this on Amazon. And I use this for a lot of things. I like to use it for transfer, so I'm just going to right now transfer circles on here. And if it's too much paint on there, like the first transfer is usually too much paint, more than I want, so you can pick up the extra with another piece. And then another thing that I do with this is I might fill the whole paper with a stamp or a stencil, or on my jelly plate I might pull some jelly plate prints with this and then tear it up and use it for collage. And it's really nice for collage because it's translucent, so you don't really see the paper, you just see the design. But it's better than tissue paper because it doesn't tear and wrinkle up on you like tissue paper does. Well, no, I don't think wax paper would work. This is not waxy. Deli paper. DELI, just like delicatessen. It's what they use in a delicatessen to wrap cheese and meat in. So I know in his workshop, in his demo, Mark doesn't like bubble wrap, but I like bubble wrap. So here it is. So I'm just gonna put some. Just putting this in a couple of places, making a mess. And let's see. I don't know what this is. It's something that I found in my house and went in a drawer. So it makes an interesting shape. Whoops, that's a little too thick. Whoops, get that off there. Okay, so after you get all the value and interest built up on it, then is when you have to edit it. So, and when you're editing it is when you have to think about what you're doing because you have to decide what you're gonna leave and what you're gonna cover up. So to edit it, I like to choose one of the colors that I'm working with here and add black and white to it to gray it back. And I think I'm going to use the blue. I already have some of that out on my palette. And I'm going to mix it with this black and white here. I don't want it quite as gray as that. I want a little bit more blue tone to it. So this now is a very opaque color because I've added a lot of white to it and black to it. I'm just going to bring a line right down here. So I'm also going to add some white to my Queen Gold. Trying to think about it a little bit about what I'm doing and where I'm putting the paint and probably a lot of this is going to end up getting covered up. Now this is a knitting needle. just like to scratch into it, into the wet paint, and it makes some nice little line work. You can also take the edge of a palette knife and scrape into it. It makes a bigger, wider scrape. Scrape through to the color underneath of it. So after I get like paint all over the whole thing, I have to put it up on the easel here because so I can get back and look at it a little bit from a distance because I can't really tell what I'm doing when I'm right on top of it. And I'm checking it for value and for messiness. I check if I like to check it for balance and for value, and so I really kind of have to look at it from a distance. Sorry, get out here. All right, so I see it needs more value. It's pretty much all, it's gone to mid-tone pretty much. So I'm going to come in and add some more darks in it and probably some more lights and try to get some more definitive shapes in it. Whoops. It's golden, a high flow acrylic, so it's very watery. It's not what I usually work with, not the colors I usually work with golden fluid acrylic, which is not as runny as this. This is finding a little difficult. No, it's not open. Open is the kind that takes forever. It takes a long time to dry. I don't work with open. Because I want it to dry kind of fast. Yeah, I could probably. I just I just mostly stick with acrylic though, because it's more versatile. If I wanted to add like a matte medium to it or some other kind of a medium, you can do that. That's all compatible. It's all water soluble and all compatible with acrylic paint. And sometimes to build texture and things like that, I might want to do that. So that's why I like acrylic. So this is just um, the ultramarine blue that I just added some white to and a teeny bit of black. A lot of times I just because I'm working with a limited palette and it all kind of works together, I just make a big mess all over here and just mix everything all together and put it on here. But I need this to be a little bit darker because I want to bring in some more darks. So now I'm adding some black to my ultramarine blue. Just to get it a little bit darker. This is a silicone wedge that if I'm going to do maybe small areas, I like to use this. It's like a brush, but it's, rubbery. So I'm going to use this to bring in some lights. This is Fabriano 140-pound cold press. No, I never mess around with that. It takes too much time. But I did try some cold press, some hot press, and I kind of liked it because I like the way the paint just kind of moves around on there. Rather, it's kind of probably be similar to gessoed cold press, but and I did kind of like that. So I'm just looking around trying to see where I could add some highlights. I'm thinking about where I want to add some highlights and to move the eye around the painting. I don't really think about a center of interest. That's not something I ever plan because abstracts really, I think they really don't need a center of interest. I think that they need movement. I think that your eye needs to move around in the painting and stay there. But I've an abstract is about the whole thing. I think half hour. Thank you, Kit. So I'm just gonna put this up one again and look at it. See if I got enough dark in there. Um, Another thing, when I'm looking at it, I turn it in all four directions because that helps me see the balance of it, and it helps me to see where it's weak because sometimes it's working in one direction and sometimes it's not working, and so you can see where it's weak and where it's not working. I feel like an abstract painting, if it's well balanced, it's going to look good in all directions, and I try to do that. But usually there's one direction that they look better in. So I think I want to bring some more Quin Gold in just right out of the tube because I have all these grayed back colors now, and I want them to contrast with some more saturated color right out of the tube. So this isn't all it has some more. something brighter in it. So I think I'll just squirt this on there just because. Whoops, wrong one. So sometimes my paintings just kind of paint themselves and I can get them done really fast. And other times they're a real struggle. Never know what it's going to be. The real struggle ones usually don't, usually need a lot of work. All right, so maybe I'll do some line work. So this is fuchsia. I guess this is close to the magenta as I can get. This is the paint's still pretty wet, so some of this is just not really coming out very well. This is, I won't get this finished. This is not going to be a finished piece, but what I do is I put it up at the end of a long hallway where I can get way far away from it, and all I can see at that point are shapes and value. You don't see any of the detail, so it really helps you to see, oh yeah, that needs more value, or those shapes aren't working, or um, that shape I really don't like. So then I go back in and change it. And I usually have it up for a couple of weeks. And I usually end up going back and doing something to it. But mostly at that point, it's just tweaking things, like maybe adding highlight somewhere, or maybe adding some more darks somewhere, or maybe changing a shape that doesn't look right. But it's not like a lot of painting, unless I really don't like it. And sometimes I really don't like them, and it turns out to be a whole different painting than after I do that. But um, I try to follow them, but they're in my head. They don't always come out on my paper. I do. Sometimes it is. Sometimes you do have to think about it. and mostly I have to think about it, and then I have to look at it and say, oh yeah, look, that's right in the middle, and then you have to change it, or yeah, those shapes are too much the same, so then I have to change something. So that I think that part for me doesn't come when I'm painting. It comes afterwards when I'm studying it, and then I realize that yeah, it's yes, and a lot, and unfortunately, maybe because I've heard it's overworked, a lot of my paintings end up looking in a cruciform composition, and everybody's saying that's an overworked composition. So I try to stay away from it for some reason because I need structure and balance in my paintings. They all end up in a cruciform composition. Thanks. But so yeah. So I try to stay away from that as much as I can. Um, Putting in a call out to Citrus Watercolor Society. In February 10th, I'm doing a demo there, and the 11th and 12th, I'm doing a workshop there at Citrus, which is in Inverness. Citrus in Inverness, and also um, it's up by Ocala. It's kind of far north. Also, Pierre asked me to give a ad for promotion for his. He has Art Savoy Fair, which is an Instagram thing that's going to be on tonight at 5 o'clock. He does it, I think, every Friday at 5 o'clock. It's Art Savoy Fair on Instagram, and he's going to be recording live from the Visual Arts Center tonight, interviewing some of the artists there and the judge. So if anybody can, get onto Instagram at 5 o'clock, you might want to watch that as well. Are there any questions? I think I've made a mess as it is. This just kind of shows you how my approach to abstract is, and this is, I would say, well, I have to look at it and see what else it needs or what else I want to do with it. And plus, these are not my usual paint, so it was I was glad to be able to find some paint because I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? Thank goodness we have a trade show. Yes? Okay, let me take a look at it. Get over here. I have to get really far from it. So I think looking at it right now, the darks are pretty much on this side, the lights are pretty much on this side. So I think I need to bring some of that darker gray over to this side a little bit um, to make it more cruciform looking. Uh-huh. And you know what I do when people tell me that? I get rid of it. Because that's all I can see. Yeah, yeah, it could. Yeah, do you? Excuse me? Yeah, I think it needs a little dark on this side, a little more of that darker gray. Yeah, right. I don't want to make cruciform out of it, but see, just like darker gray and just a touch of it over on that side, which would also help to pull your eye over to this side. Yeah, yeah. Any other questions? Oh, it's a knitting needle. It's just a knitting needle. Oh, this pencil, they are called ink tints. Ink tints. They have a lot of pigment. They're nice. They're water soluble. Um, I think they're made with ink, actually, instead of, I don't know what else they make pencils out of, but these are made with ink, and they're nice pigment in them. I use a brush, and when I use a brush, it's like this size of a brush, usually. This is an inch and a half. Don't ask me what it is because there's so much paint on it that the name is covered up. But if I was going to glaze, so sometimes if I have a painting that just doesn't feel like it's holding together, I might just glaze like a quinacridone gold or some other transparent color over it, or maybe in some areas of it to help pull it together. And I do that with a brush because I just want just a fine layer, a thin layer of color to just kind of pull it together a little bit. Oh yeah, because look, I got these here. I need a dark over there. A really dark, huh? Oh, I think my dark's all dried up. Oh, I can put some out. Okay, a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes just little tweaks here and there really make a big difference. So now what I'm going to do is just clean off my board because I got all this excess paint because I always put out too much. And I'm just going to put it on my slap board and then maybe make a painting out of it one of these days. But I hate to waste paint. And acrylic paint just doesn't keep well. You know, it's not like watercolor. When it's dry, it's dry, and there's nothing that you're going to be able to reconstitute it with. So this way I don't waste it. And then, you know, if worse comes to worse, sometimes I tear it up and make a collage out of it. All right, so what? Oh, thank you. Lettering. Sometimes, oh, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't like what my writing looks like in painting, so I don't usually do that. But I have stencils. I've got a lot of different stencils that sometimes I'll put some stenciling in. A lot of times I'll add some collage to it. I mean, if I see something that's just doesn't isn't working, then might put some collage in, and that might help it. Um, but that's about it. So like these things I'll save. But if you just tear up, sometimes I just need a tiny little piece of maybe this color so I can just tear it up and stick it on there. And then I also make greeting cards, and I use those things to collage to make greeting cards out of.